countless women find themselves feeling isolated, unseen, and emotionally drained. It's kind of a loneliness that doesn't always come from being alone per se, but from a feeling of being disconnected, even in a full house. And today we're talking about that, why motherhood can be so lonely, and what we can do to support women who give so much of themselves to everyone else. Tata Nyawira is joining us on the line. She's a counseling psychologist from Kenya to help us unpack this. Thank you so much, Tata, for your time. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It can be quite a draining thing because, society's norms really can overlook the feelings of women and mothers as a whole, especially because women and mothers are expected to be joyful about motherhood. They're expected to have this unconditional love, and they're expected to take care of absolutely everyone. But behind that is a guilt that women feel, especially when they feel that loneliness and they can't actually tell anyone because they feel like, I'm not a mother enough, and why am I feeling this way?
Right. Thank you so much, Palesa, for having me. And it's true. I feel like I join in not just as a counseling psychologist, but also as a mother who has also gone through exactly what you're talking about, which is the loneliness. I think before, when you're single and you're thinking about motherhood, it looks like it's this nice thing.
Yeah.
And you feel like mothers have it all together. What you don't count on is when you get in, and even just before you see your child, just the pregnancy journey, it can be very isolating because experiences differ from woman to woman. So some people have such bad pregnancy experiences, and because no one seems to talk about it, I feel like women really downplay what pregnancy and motherhood is, such that people, as a mother, you end up feeling very, very lonely because you can't really talk about it. And then you are expected, as you've said, you are expected to be joyful. You are expected to have it figured out. Even when you're a new mom, you are expected to know what to do when a baby cries. You are expected to know what to do even with your own body. Yet, at times, even as a mom, your own body, it's like it gives up on you. So you have your stomach is distended, your nose is distended, you're not feeling very beautiful. So you have self-esteem issues that come along because of the pregnancy and motherhood journey. Yet somehow, as you're saying, everyone expects you to be happy. Everyone expects you to have it figured out. This is very, very isolating, especially nowadays, even in the African community where we used to be very communal, but right now there's a lot of isolation. So mothers are doing the journey of motherhood alone, without their aunties, without their grandmothers, without their own mothers, even walking with them to tell them what to expect. And that in and itself can be very, very overwhelming.
That is incredibly true. And a lot of us is society's imposition on what motherhood should be. And sometimes when we don't feel exactly like those societal impositions, we feel guilty that we're not doing it right, or maybe we're just not like other mothers. And you are right to say that women don't speak much about those feelings behind the scenes. And that also further exacerbates, not talking about the loneliness that they feel, because what they're seeing is that, well, all the other mothers are perfect. Why am I feeling unperfect? Let's speak a little bit about that. The reason behind the barrier of not being able to describe or understand your loneliness in a world where you also feel that everyone is doing it right and perhaps you're the only one getting it wrong.
That is actually very true because I find that I don't know if it's how we have been socialized, especially as African women, to have it figured out, to know what to do. We saw our mothers doing it effortlessly. Our mothers didn't talk about the pain, they didn't talk about the guilt, they didn't look exhausted either. They cooked for their families, took care of their husbands, and still went to work. And they did it so effortlessly. So as a young girl, as you come into adulthood, then there's an expectation that has been set by society that you should be able to be a super mom.
Yes.
You're not even allowed to delegate. Right? Because I see it now with our generation where you want to delegate because, to be honest, you're exhausted, but you feel so guilty doing it. I was actually talking about it this morning when I was telling my friend, I want to go to the gym, but I feel guilty when I'm not back to take my child to school.
Yeah.
Where is this guilt coming from? This guilt comes from our society. We have been labeled as mothers to be almost like super women who should know what to do, when to do it. And because no one talks about the exhaustion that comes with giving of ourselves to everyone but ourselves, then you end up feeling very, very guilty, even having that feeling of that maybe I actually don't like my children that much. They are exhausting.
And you know what? I
Right.
even beg to differ to say that we saw our mothers doing it so effortlessly. Of course, we were looking at that from the lens of a child looking at a mother. But when you become a mother yourself, you realize that our parents were not doing it, obviously. They were also, had those impositions of society to make it look effortless because there was no one to talk to and there were no spaces to speak about that kind of thing to anyone. So no, our parents didn't do it effortlessly. No, our mothers did not. They were going through the same loneliness, the same guilt, the same shame that we go through today because there were no spaces to speak about that. But let's speak about identifying this loneliness. As a mother, when you start having these feelings of motherhood loneliness, you'll go maybe to your spouse or to your family and they'll say, but we're here, what do you mean? And you're like, you don't understand. You are here, but you're also part of my responsibility because I have a responsibility to also be your spouse, to be this, to be that. And even though you are helping, you cannot understand the feeling of being a mother or this mother that I am at this particular point. How can you identify and start working through those emotions of loneliness?
Oh wow, that's actually great, and I like what you've talked about earlier, the fact that our mothers went through it.
Yeah.
It's just that from the from the eyes of a child, then it looked like they were doing it effortlessly.
Right.
However, now as an adult, if you're going through the motions of guilt and loneliness, one of the things that I talk about is just being able to be aware. I feel like most times when you're going through anything emotional, when you don't catch it, when you're not aware, then it catches you off guard. But if you're aware, because some of the adjustment, especially as you get into motherhood, is actually very normal, because then you feel tired, you feel uncertain, you're also worrying about your baby. It's the first time you're going through this. The adjustment is normal. But if you start feeling like, and I would say if you start feeling numb, if you start feeling hopeless, if you start feeling detached, if you have constant guilt, it's not just guilt for today, but you're constantly feeling like you're a bad mother, if you're consistently feeling like you want to blame yourself, or you're also even withdrawing from your loved ones, or you're having difficulty sleeping, even when the baby is asleep, then you're having difficulty sleeping because most probably you're worrying. And this is what also happens to moms and new moms. You don't want help. You don't want to delegate because you feel like your child only needs you.
Yes.
And then lastly, which is very important, if you start having thoughts of harm to yourself or to the baby, then it's important that you catch yourself and be able to tell either your spouse or someone close to you or even a friend that this is how I'm feeling, so that then they can either be able to help you, support you, or even direct you to maybe a mental health practitioner.
Okay, Tata, we need to take a break. We'll continue this conversation after this. We're speaking to counseling psychologist and mother, Tata Nyawira, about motherhood loneliness. We'll continue after this break.
Palesa and Benjamin fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Hey, most of the time when we look at mothers, because they are the busy ones, they're the ones doing stuff in our lives, and we are around them while they're doing the stuff, and they're accommodating all of us with their octopus hands, which they actually don't have. We think they're fine, right? We think because they are doing the doing that they're probably okay, and we never really check on them. And also we continue to give them tasks and not support them, and continue to allow the status quo to remain by saying, that's what mothers do. Of course, mothers cook, mothers clean, mothers sit down, they have a chat with us. Mothers are in their workspaces, even at work, at home, making sure that they meet their deadlines. But there's this phenomenon, motherhood, loneliness can actually happen. Maybe it happens to most women. I think it actually does, because we never really check up on our mothers. And we're speaking to our guest today to chat a little bit about that. That's Tata Nyawira, a counselling psychologist joining us from Kenya. Tata, let's talk a little bit about that, because the tasks feel like at times when we look at outside that, these are mothers' tasks. These are mothers' activities. Even all the things that you've been highlighting. It's like, what must we do now? No one can give birth except the mother. We stick to those stereotypes because that's what we do when it comes to functions of mothers. We think being a mother is a function. We don't see the mother as a human being. How do we change that kind of a thinking, and how do we notice their need for support?
I think maybe by starting to ask them if they need help. And I must talk to mothers, because at times mothers, even when they're asked, do you need help? You'll hear them saying no.
Yeah. Because, mothers also like it done their way as well. That's another thing.
They like it done their way. It's true. They like it done their way. And that's why I'm starting to talk to them first. Because at times you have a spouse, you have maybe your sister or a friend coming in, and they truly, truly want to help. But because you seem and look fine, then chances are that they don't know what else to do. So from the mother, so let's start with the mother. The mother needs to be able to relinquish control. It's very difficult, but a diaper will just be put on. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a romper, it can be put on in any way. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can delegate for someone else to be cooking and doing laundry so that it's not all on you. We have to start by showing that we are human, first of all, as mothers. But the second thing is that for the people who are around a mom, just notice that the mom is just a human being and they need help. And at times it's difficult for the mom to ask. So what you can do is come in and do the other chores, be it laundry, be it cooking, be it even taking the baby away so that she can rest and assuring her that the baby will be fine. If you ask her, how can I help? Then, because I've talked to them, then it will be easier for you to be able to come in and do those other things, because she's the only one, it's true, who can give birth. Mm-hmm. She's the only one who can breastfeed. But at some point, if she's able to pump the milk, then someone else can be able to give the child the milk so that the mother rests. But it comes from, because we talked about the barriers of why mothers don't talk. It comes from us as the society, making it easier for mothers to be able to say, I'm tired, and them not feeling judged. Because most times when you say, I'm tired of mothering, the whole time someone will tell you, but you wanted a child. So what's making you tired?
Wow,
that is such... I wanted a child, even though I wanted a job, it's not tiring, it's exhausting.
Oh, wow. People can say some of the meanest things, Also, I think another key is, Tata, that let the mother be themselves as well. At times we allow mothers just to be at home all the time. Mother gets from from work to home every single day, work to home, does all the tasks. I think at times mother can also go for a tea date with their girlfriends. Mother can also have a quiet time in prayer and just reading a book. Mother can also have time outside in the garden having her tea by herself. Mother can do a little hobby, go to the gym like yourself. Allow mother to also do activities that are connected to her likings as well.
Mm-hmm. That's very true, and that's why I started by talking to the mothers, because one, you have to be very self-aware to be able to know that I do not ask for help easily. I do not know how to delegate. I do not know how to relinquish control. It starts with self-awareness, so that by the time someone is telling you, I can stay home with the children, and you go do something, you need to be aware enough to say that before I became a mom, I loved dancing, I loved reading, I loved going to the gym. Motherhood shouldn't come and occupy you in a way that you completely lose yourself, which is what we see. And you know what happens later, Benjamin? We start becoming very resentful of the people around us.
Sure.
But it is us who have not given ourselves permission to be ourselves, even though now we are mothers.
Yeah. Let's talk to the mother, because you've given them so much advice, but also just allowing them also not to feel okay. I think sometimes we don't allow mothers to not feel okay, to feel sad, to feel down, to feel tired, to feel upset, to have an emotional nuanced space within them. I think we always want mothers to be happy, mothers to be strong, but let's also give them permission to feel whatever they want to feel or how they feel at the moment.
That's true. I feel like when I talked about mothers being human and being allowed to be human, that's one of the things, that they can be allowed to be sad, to even feel exhausted, to even feel angry. There are days, let me tell you, you look at your children, you love them, but you actually don't want to be around them. And that is okay.
That's okay. Absolutely.
You know, and that's okay. And we should be able to allow moms to be. I think I liked what you said, allowing mothers to be, and to be honest enough to say that this is actually exhausting, or I'm feeling exhausted and maybe I need a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Tata, where can people go to find out some of the work that you do, or maybe get your assistance online? Maybe you do some courses, or maybe you do some content online. Where can they find you?
On social media, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, you can go and look for Tata Nyawira. Nyawira is Nyawira. So you can find me on social media, on LinkedIn, on TikTok. You'll find me. As long as you type in Tata Nyawira, you will find me. And you'll be able then to come into contact with the just the things that I do and what I talk about, because I truly love to just help people even figure out how their own childhood, because when we talk about mothering, it starts with how were they mothered themselves.
Absolutely. Tata, it's always good speaking to you. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much.
That's Tata Nyawira, counseling psychologist in Kenya. Find her on social media. She does some fantastic content there. Well, let's move on and get to our latest sports update. Musibudi is going to wrap up things for the morning.